The Last of Us 2. One of gaming's most controversial games from this console generation, that's for sure. I've been a fan of The Last of Us for a long time, so of course I had to play part 2. It's been out for like a week and I finished it like 2.5 times already. From a gameplay perspective, it's a top tier game, you can't deny that. And being a guy who likes to challenge myself, I wanted to beat the game without using any weapons. So the idea was a no weapons playthrough. However, melee attacks with your knife and melee weapons like a baseball bat were allowed. Also bricks and bottles that can be found anywhere could be used. Grenades like molotovs, trap mines and pipe bombs were also allowed if absolutely necessary. So the goal was really to beat this game without shooting any bullets from guns. That were the rules and well, let's see how this playthrough turned out, shall we? Also, a full playthrough takes at least 15 hours and for this challenge I might have put in at least 25 hours, maybe even 30, so I really hope that you are going to enjoy this video. Also, spoiler alert I guess. So, I played on a hard difficulty level to give myself a challenge, but also to get enough resources to rely on grenades if necessary. So the game begins and you play as Joel and ride your horse. In Jackson, you take control of Ellie and prepare for your big adventure. The adventure, however, is mainly about walking and talking until you meet up with Dina. And at this point, you have your first encounter. Right, you have to defeat some annoying little kids. Now, thankfully, some snowballs conveniently laid around, so no need for weapons at this point. Lucky kids. After that, you play as Abby and you have to fight your first infected. No problem because all you need are your fists. However, the game is still in a tutorial mode at this point and it hasn't showed you that you have also weapons. Like, I know game, there's really no need to tell me that, especially not by implementing a prone segment where your only way forward is by killing a zombie with your pistol. And you can't go back or use melee and regardless what you do, you need to go this way, like, maybe not, please. Alright fine, that's it, not even through the first 3 chapters and this no bullets run is over. Thanks for watching the video. Goodbye. Alright, after this disappointment I had to make new rules. Beat the game with as few bullets as possible. So let's go back to Abby. I used 1 bullet to progress this part. The rest of her chapter can be finished by simply running away from the infected. Ellie on the other hand has some horse riding and exploring segment. Pretty easy until you have to fight the first infected. Thankfully Dina is here to save the day. And what? She used her pistol against the enemy? Well, now that Dina has also failed her no weapons run, I guess I don't feel so bad about myself anymore. And just because nothing matters anymore, Dina puts in a few more bullets into our first clicker encounter. I just don't get it, she obviously didn't pay attention when I was talking about this no weapons run. But thanks for saving my life, I guess. Whatever. Clickers are actually no problem at all for Ellie. She just has to use her knife and slowly approach them. The rest of her chapter is pretty easy, just use stealth and you can finish the enemies one by one. After finally finding Eugene's hideout and telling Dina how absolutely useless the weapon workbenches are going to be for the next maybe 20 hours, we found the secret basement and smoked some weed. Abby on the other hand had to run away from the infected until she got saved by Joel and Tommy. The gondola encounter is pretty easy. There are at least 3 or 4 melee weapons laying around, so it's no problem standing your ground and to protect Tommy. Obviously, I'm not gonna talk about 30 minutes of cutscenes, so let's just say we pick up Joel's revolver that we hopefully never have to use and move on to Seattle. Ellie and Dina's sightseeing in Seattle didn't make any problems. I used this chapter to fill up all my resources so that I could craft some molotovs. When fighting enemies, Dina is actually really helpful. At some segments I just used stealth or run to the next checkpoint. Like, why even bother fighting, right? As long as you have a melee weapon to fight an attacking clicker, it's not a problem. At the Wolves building, I, the hero that I am, saved Dina from my infected. But instead of saying thanks, she just stood there frozen like she just heard a bad joke.
What is the downside to eating a clock? It's time consuming.
But as soon as the next cutscene started, she was back on my side. Skipping forward, stuff happens, they get captured, they escape, and I run away like a little bitch. Hey, it's not stupid if it works. After that, I slowly made my way to the radio station building. Again, I used stealth to escape all the enemies. In the underground area, we faced a new Shambler zombie type, and thankfully I also managed to run away from this guy and to the next checkpoint. Although there were like 5 or 6 infected around me. Anyways, I'm not complaining. I grabbed some more supplies and made it to the theater hideout. Nothing happens in the flashback segment, so we move on to day 2. That's the point where the game throws dogs at you, and I can actually say that I haven't killed a single dog in this playthrough, so yay. Oh shit, I forgot about Alice. Sorry. But back to Ellie, at some point you find a bow. And somehow the game thinks that shooting a bow is really difficult, I guess. So the game makes you not move until you try to shoot your bow. Fantastic, right? Well, turns out the bow works and all you have to do is like aim and then draw the bow until it's fully charged. And then I think you just let go and the arrow flies. It's way too complicated, so I'm glad I got a tutorial for that. The next encounters could be dealt with by using stealth again and running to the next checkpoint. After meeting Jesse, we face the next big problem of our no weapons run. Because there is a driving segment, and of course in those driving segments you can never choose your weapon. You just have to use a pistol. So after trying to do this part a few times, it turns out you can avoid all soldiers besides one, the enemy driver. The game forces you to shoot him. And for some reason he also takes 2 shots in the head to die. Maybe it's because I played on a hard difficulty level. But yeah, you can't throw a Molotov or anything else, you just have to use a weapon. So now I have used 3 bullets already, and as if that wasn't enough, the game gives me another middle finger by throwing a clicker on my car. Like, come on! And of course, this bad boy also took 2 bullets to the head, and yeah, that's the story of how I wasted 4 bullets on a forced driving segment. Thankfully, we crashed the car in the river and can now focus on not using any weapons anymore. We have a goal after all, and this setback will not let us down, right? Right?
You want to give it a whirl?
Are you sure?
Well, I'm feeling generous.
Are you kidding me? At this point I completely forgot about the sniping segment with Tommy. It was my second playthrough after all. So now I was once again forced to shoot a weapon and to kill some poor infected that were peacefully harvesting fresh meat on a sunny afternoon. I just felt sick wasting not only 5, not 10, but 15 bullets in total to progress the story. At this point I used 20 bullets in total in this playthrough. Just because of Tommy. I was seriously mad at him, but he didn't let me go. He wanted to see blood, and blood I delivered. I hope he's happy now, spitting on my no weapons run. Thankfully, I didn't have to waste any more bullets during the bloater boss fight in this flashback. All you have to do is run around and let Joel shoot him. At some point, you just kinda let him grab Ellie, and Joel cuts him into tiny little pieces. The next Seattle encounters can be done by avoiding infected or by running to the next checkpoint. You might die a few times until you find the best route, but it's worth it. And instead of meeting the Seraphites, I choose not to say hello and to hide under a truck. Until this big guy came along and insisted on a firm handshake. Well, he got what he wanted and I moved on to the hospital. I sneaked around and avoided conflict until I found Nora. Moving on to day 3, with the help of Jesse I could handle the first encounters pretty easy. After separating, I used stealth again to steal the boat. At some point Ellie needs to open a gate for the boat, and this means Ellie breaks through the floor and has to fight a big bloater, obviously. This boss fight can't be avoided and therefore he has to die. Bloaters are extremely strong and even with a decent melee weapon, you will not stand a chance winning this fight. Which means it's barbecue time. I had 3 Molotovs saved at this point, just waiting, and enough ingredients to craft 2 more. Long story short, I used 5 Molotovs and 1 fancy trip mine to exterminate this big boy. The rest of the chapter is basically just a boat simulator, and we move on to Abby. We have a flashback with her dad saving a zebra. After that, we drive with our squad to somewhere. Doesn't matter because the Seraphites attack our truck, which means driving segment. So I didn't shoot, right? I was just waiting to die, as always. But after dying once and spawning back with full health at a checkpoint, we actually made it. Take that, stupid driving segments. After that, Abby falls on the floor and almost shoots a clicker. But thankfully Alice, our dog, fully understands my no weapons playthrough and kills the clicker for me. Good dog. The other encounters are really easy, since you have 2 allies and a dog on your side. We drive back to the Wolves headquarters and have another flashback that doesn't have any weapons. Back in present time, Abby faces a few encounters that are all easy to deal with, just hiding and running, hiding and running. At some point Abby gets captured and we have to play the winter flashback. At this time the game gives you a toy bow to hit targets around the room. It's pretty much a contest where you have to beat the high score. If you do it, Owen writes your name and your score on the board. However, this toy bow is still a deadly, highly functional weapon in my book, so I grabbed the bow and did absolutely nothing for 1 minute. And guess what? Owen was kinda speechless about that, and Abby says that she doesn't have to prove anything, which is actually a really nice detail. So this was a huge victory for me. Moving on to the present time again, Abby escapes with Lev and Yara from the Seraphites. And there comes the part where she has to fight on her own in a locked area. And you can't progress any further until you fight enough zombies. I try to have 2 melee weapons by dropping and picking up melee weapons upstairs before jumping down. Well, turns out the game doesn't want you to drop weapons from a cliff. After around 30 times I somehow managed to do it. So I used 1 melee weapon to clear the area and still had a second one as a backup. But this segment throws at least 3 clickers and a few shamblers at you, and I couldn't progress any further. Even my upgraded melee weapon broke at some point and I was forced to use 3 pipe bombs to escape from this place. On the next day I used my absolute godlike stealth skills to sneak past those stupid enemies, and together with Lev I made my way to the hospital. The next encounters were easy, I didn't have to use any weapons. I grabbed a gas mask for Lev and ran away from the stalkers. Then I used some 500 IQ strategy to trigger the jump scare stalkers. I let them chill for a while and sneaked around them. After Abby gets to the hospital, she has to fight the Rat King boss, the biggest and most brutal infected in the game. No skipping, no escaping. I used all my pipe bombs, but it wasn't enough. I used 11 pipe bombs. 3 from my inventory, 6 that I could craft with my own supplies, and 2 more that I could build with supplies from the boss area. After 8 pipe bombs, the boss separates and is halfway defeated. But I only had 11, so I had a problem, right? I then found a solution after doing some research, and there's actually a training manual that you can pick up to learn crafting more pipe bombs. So I knew what I had to do. I had to go back and find the guide in some random save 5 chapters before, which made me fall back for at least 1 or 2 hours. So I opened the save to grab the manual and I was shocked to see that it was the wrong one. I was confused. Well, turns out the locations for them are not really lining up with the training chapters. I somehow forgot not only 1 book, but 2. And in order to get the 5th training guide, you need chapter 1, 2, 3 and 4 first. If you don't pick up 1, the next location will give you the one that you missed first. Pretty stupid. Well, actually not. It's kinda helpful, but this made me go back 8 hours of progress and start the first Abby chapter again. I grabbed a stupid manual in some stupid boat, grabbed another stupid manual somewhere else, and then I finally got the one that I needed. I unlocked the whole skill tree and I was finally able to craft and to hold more pipe bombs. I was ready for revenge. Made my way to the hospital again. This time I had 6 pipe bombs in my pocket and 9 potential more with my resources, so I threw them all at the Rat King and he still didn't die. He already took 15 pipe bombs, so I had to collect a few resources around the area so I could craft 3 more pipe bombs. Those 3 were my last hope. There was nothing more left. So I threw the first one and completely missed by throwing it at the stalker and not the Rat King. So with 2 more left, it was all or nothing. And guess what? After pipe bomb 17, he died. After my last pipe bomb. You can't even imagine how happy I was. No bullet was fired on that day. And the 10 hours backtracking were worth it. After the boss, I also slapped his stalker brother with my bare hands until he died like a little bitch. Moving on to day 3. Abby and Manny fight against Tommy, who is sniping them. His bullets can be avoided and the infected too. On the island, I used stealth again. The segment where you have to deal with the wolf soldiers was tough, but I killed them all with my melee weapon. Everything was fine until the horse riding section. Or should I say, driving section 2.0? Guess what, there was a part where you have to shoot. I tried it countless times, but the game didn't let me pass to the next checkpoint. There were 3 enemy riders. Lev can kill 2 of them, but number 3 will always kill you at some point. And fun fact, you can't even control your horse at this segment. You can choose the direction where you're going for a bit, but you can't stop or go back or any other way. I still had some pills left, so I did go back and try to max out my health to try it again. I even used a medkit before riding the horse. But there was no difference. I still died. The game just wants you to shoot. And another fun fact, it doesn't matter where you shoot. You could shoot 5 bullets in the air and the game lets you through the next checkpoint. You heard right, as long as you try, it's fine. You won't get shot by the last guy. Needless to say, I had to use 1 more bullet to stun the last enemy just before his deadly shot. The rest of the chapter was easy. I used melee attacks and escaped from the island. Which brings us to the last and most difficult chapter in the game. The farm. No, it's Santa Barbara of course. And apart from 1 encounter, it was relatively easy to sneak around and to avoid infected. The last encounter was more complicated. I couldn't just run past them. I used stealth as long as possible, and after I got detected, I had to rely on my melee skills and medkits. And at some point I said screw it and I ran to the prison. I found Abby, had some nice talk with her and chose to let her live for some reason, although I've killed dozens of soldiers for less, and I finally made it back to the farm to play guitar 1 last time before the credits rolled. And done. "21 bullets, 1 arrow, 21 pipe bombs, I missed 1, 5 molotovs and 1 trip mine. That's what I needed. Again, it took me almost 30 hours and maybe another 10 hours to make this video, so please leave a like if you enjoyed it. And I know that's not really a Call of Duty video, but The Last of Us is such a good game that I had to manifest it on my channel in some way, and I have to say, I'm happy how it turned out. I really had fun playing the game and I can only recommend you to play it too, if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.